I stood in the marble foyer of my daughter's mother-in-law's estate that Christmas morning, holding a $25 Home Depot gift card in my calloused hands, while Jennifer handed Catherine Morrison the keys to an $85,000 Tesla Model Y. The room erupted in champagne toasts and laughter. Nobody even glanced in my direction. The gift card had my own store's logo on it, Hartley's Hardware, the business I'd built over 40 years with these same rough hands. The irony wasn't lost on me, though apparently it was lost on everyone else in that room. Let me back up. My name is William Hartley, and I'm 64 years old. I've lived in Fredericksburg, Texas, my entire life, running the hardware store my father started in 1962. It's not fancy, but it's honest work, and it kept food on the table after my wife Rebecca died 8 years ago, leaving me to raise our daughter Jennifer alone through her final years of high school. Rebecca's death from ovarian cancer cost us everything we'd saved. The treatments, the experimental drugs insurance wouldn't cover, the trips to MD Anderson in Houston, I liquidated our retirement accounts. I took out a second mortgage on our house. I cashed in the life insurance policy I'd been paying into for 20 years. In the end, we still lost her, and I was left with a 16-year-old daughter and debt that would take me a decade to climb out of. But I did it. I worked 7 days a week. I took on commercial contracts I wasn't equipped for, learned plumbing and electrical work on YouTube at 56 years old because I couldn't afford to turn down any job. I ate ramen noodles and drove a truck with 200,000 miles on it while Jennifer had a reliable Honda Civic and money for college applications. Jennifer was brilliant. Full scholarship to UT Austin for engineering. I was so proud I cried in the truck on the drive home from her graduation party. But scholarships don't cover everything. Books, housing deposits, lab fees, a laptop that could handle her CAD software. I covered it all. $32,000 over 4 years. Paid in cash because my credit was destroyed from Rebecca's medical bills. When Jennifer landed her first job at an aerospace firm in Dallas, making $68,000 a year, she called me crying with joy. "Dad, I'm going to pay you back for everything. I promise." I told her what any father would. "Sweetheart, you don't owe me anything. Just live a good life." 2 years later, she met Marcus Morrison at a company networking event. Marcus was a financial analyst, came from oil money, wore suits that cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. His mother, Catherine, was old Dallas society, the kind of woman who'd never set foot in a hardware store in her life. I liked Marcus well enough at first. He was polite, educated, seemed to genuinely care about Jennifer. But I noticed things. The way he'd subtly correct her grammar. How he'd suggested she upgrade her wardrobe for client meetings. The gentle pressure to leave her apartment in a diverse neighborhood for something in a better area. Catherine was another story entirely. She called me Bill even after I'd corrected her twice that I went by William. She asked about my little shop with a smile that never reached her eyes. At their engagement party, she introduced me to her friends as Jennifer's father. He's in retail. The wedding cost me everything I had left. Jennifer wanted to pay for it herself, insisted on something small, but Catherine had other ideas. "Marcus is our only child, William. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event. Surely you want to give your daughter a proper wedding?" The implied judgment was clear. A proper father would find a way. So I did. I refinanced the house again. I sold my boat, the one thing I'd kept from better times, my weekend escape on Canyon Lake. I called in every favor, every debt owed to me from 40 years in business. $47,000 for a wedding at a country club I'd only seen from the highway. Jennifer looked beautiful. Marcus's family numbered over 200 guests. My side of the church had 37 people, mostly employees and their families. Guys from the Veterans Hall where I played poker on Thursdays, and 3 cousins who drove in from San Antonio. Catherine made a toast at the reception about welcoming Jennifer into a family that values excellence and refinement. I don't think she meant it as a slight, but it landed like one. I caught Jennifer's eye across the room. She looked away. The first year of their marriage, things seemed fine. Jennifer called every Sunday. They came to Fredericksburg once a month for barbecue at my place. Marcus was always on his phone, Catherine's texts and calls interrupting our conversations, but Jennifer seemed happy. Then came the business opportunity. Marcus was starting an investment consulting firm with a college friend. Jennifer wanted to invest. It's a sure thing, Dad. Marcus has clients lined up. She needed $20,000 to buy in as a junior partner. I didn't have it, but Hartley's Hardware had a business savings account. Money I'd been setting aside for a new roof, for eventually hiring a manager so I could maybe, possibly, retire before I dropped dead in the paint aisle. I transferred it to her. Pay me back when you can, sweetheart. No rush. 6 months later, Dad, we need a down payment for a house. Marcus's firm is doing so well, but all our cash is tied up in the business. Can you co-sign for us? My credit was better now, barely. I co-signed. They bought a 4-bedroom house in a gated community in Plano. The mortgage was $4,000 a month, twice what I paid for my entire house. Then, Dad, we need furniture. Catherine says we can't have her bridge club over with our current stuff. $12,000. I put it on a business credit card. Then, Dad, Marcus's car died. He needs something reliable for client meetings. I helped with $15,000 toward a BMW. Each time, Jennifer promised to pay me back. Each time, I told her not to worry about it. What else was I going to do with the money? I was 62 years old, living alone in a 3-bedroom house, eating dinner in front of the TV most nights. My daughter's success was my success. That's what I told myself. The cracks started showing last spring. Jennifer's Sunday calls became sporadic. When she did call, it was rushed, distracted. Sorry, Dad. Catherine's planning a charity gala and I'm on the committee. Or we're having dinner with Marcus's clients tonight. Can I call you back? She never did. I drove to Plano for her 30th birthday in June. I'd made reservations at her favorite restaurant, the little Italian place we used to go to when she visited. She canceled an hour before. Dad, I'm so sorry. Catherine organized a surprise party at the club. Family only. But you understand, right? I understood that I wasn't included in family. I spent her birthday eating fettuccine alfredo alone, the wrapped present on the passenger seat of my truck. A vintage drafting compass set I'd found at an estate sale. The kind she'd admired in antique stores when she was in college. I drove it back to Fredericksburg and put it in my closet. The Thanksgiving invitation came in October. Catherine insists you join us. It'll be at her house. Formal dress, dinners at 3 sharp. Not I'd love for you to come. Not we'd miss you if you weren't there. Just Catherine's insistence. I bought a new suit, first one I'd owned since Rebecca's funeral. It felt strange on my shoulders, too tight in places. Age and hard work had changed. Thanksgiving was exactly what I'd expected. 30 people in formal wear, standing around with crystal glasses of wine I couldn't pronounce, making conversation about ski trips and charity auctions. I helped myself to a beer from a fridge in their garage and stood by the window, watching football on mute. Jennifer spent the evening at Catherine's elbow, laughing at stories I'd heard her tell before, nodding along to opinions about maintaining standards and the importance of social capital. My daughter, who used to spend Saturday mornings helping me stock shelves and arguing about which Star Wars movie was best, had become someone I barely recognized. We barely spoke. She introduced me to her friends as my father from Fredericksburg, with a tone that suggested I was a distant relative, not the man who'd raised her. When I left at 8, claiming an early morning at the store, she kissed my cheek absently and said, "Thanks for coming, Dad." I cried on the drive home. 63 years old, crying like a child on Highway 290 because my daughter had become a stranger. December rolled in cold and bitter. The invitation came via text. Catherine wants to do Christmas at her house again. Can you make it Christmas morning? We're opening presents at 10. I should have said no. I should have claimed the store needed me, invented an emergency, anything. But she was still my daughter. I still remembered teaching her to ride a bike in the Walmart parking lot, still heard her laugh when we'd watch old Western movies together, still saw Rebecca in her smile. So I said yes. I bought Catherine a gift, something tasteful from a boutique in town. A cashmere scarf, $200 I couldn't afford but felt obligated to spend. For Jennifer and Marcus, I got them a weekend at a bed and breakfast in Fredericksburg, a place Rebecca and I used to love. $500. I wrapped them carefully, wrote heartfelt cards. For Jennifer, I added the Home Depot gift card. $25. It was meant as a joke, a callback to when she was little, and would help me at the store by scanning items at the register, pretending she was working. "When I grow up, I'm going to run this place with you, Daddy," she'd say. I thought it might make her smile, remember simpler times. Christmas morning was cold. Catherine's house looked like something from a magazine, every window wrapped in white lights, a wreath on the door the size of a tractor tire. I parked my truck between a Range Rover and a Porsche, suddenly aware of the duct tape holding my passenger mirror on. Inside was worse. The tree was 12 feet tall, professionally decorated, presents stacked underneath like a department store display. Champagne was flowing at 10 in the morning. Women in designer loungewear, men in cashmere sweaters that probably cost more than my heating bill. Catherine greeted me with a cool hug. "William, so glad you could make it." Jennifer's in the kitchen. She took my gifts without looking at them and set them on a side table, not under the tree with the others. I found Jennifer arranging mimosas on a tray. "Hey, sweetheart. Merry Christmas." "Dad, you made it." She hugged me, and for a moment, she felt like my daughter again. Then Marcus appeared, pulling her away. "Babe, Mom wants a picture by the tree. Family photo." I started to follow. Marcus stopped me. "Oh, sorry, William. Just immediate family for this one. You understand." I stood in the kitchen, watching through the doorway as they posed. Jennifer, Marcus, Catherine, Marcus's father, Robert. A photographer Catherine had hired was positioning them, adjusting lights. I was a guest in my daughter's Christmas morning. Not family, a guest. The present opening started at 10:30. Catherine orchestrated it like a performance, calling out names, ensuring everyone watched each unveiling. I sat on a chair by the window, my beer getting warm in my hand. Jennifer opened my gifts last. The weekend getaway got a polite, "Oh, how nice, Dad. We'll have to find time." The Home Depot gift card made her pause. She read it, and I saw something flicker in her eyes. Confusion? Embarrassment? She quickly set it aside. "Thanks, Dad." No laughter. No memory shared. Just polite dismissal. Then Catherine stood, commanding the room's attention. "Now, Jennifer, darling, Marcus and I have a special gift for you to give me." Jennifer's face lit up in a way I hadn't seen all morning. She retrieved an envelope from under the tree, handed it to Catherine with trembling excitement. "Merry Christmas, Catherine. This is from Marcus and me." Catherine opened it, pulled out car keys, and actual tears formed in her eyes. "Darling, you didn't." "It's outside," Jennifer said, breathless. "The white one with the bow." Everyone rushed to the window. There, in the circular driveway, was a Tesla Model Y, white with a massive red bow on the hood. $85,000. I knew because I'd looked at them once, fantasized about something with better gas mileage, before reality reminded me I'd be driving my truck until it literally fell apart. The room erupted. Catherine was crying, hugging Jennifer and Marcus. Robert was clapping. Friends were taking photos. Someone popped another bottle of champagne. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. My daughter, who owed me over $90,000, who hadn't paid back a single cent, had just given her mother-in-law an $85,000 car, while I held a $25 gift card from my own store. I set down my beer and walked out. Nobody noticed. They were all outside, admiring the Tesla. Catherine sitting in the driver's seat like a teenager with her first car. I got in my truck and drove home. I don't remember the drive. I don't remember parking. I remember sitting at my kitchen table, in the house I'd mortgaged 3 times to give Jennifer a life, staring at the photos on the wall. Jennifer's graduation, Jennifer's wedding, Rebecca holding newborn Jennifer in the hospital. What did I do wrong? I asked Rebecca's picture. She smiled back at me, frozen in time, unable to answer. My phone rang around 3. Jennifer. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. 7 times that afternoon. I turned off my phone. The next morning, I went to the store like always. Opened at 6, started the coffee, began checking inventory. Around 8, Jennifer's car pulled up front. She came in, still in yesterday's designer loungewear, eyes red from crying. "Dad, why did you leave?" Why aren't you answering your phone? I kept writing on my clipboard. I had work to do. That's it? You just left without saying goodbye. Catherine was hurt. Everyone was asking where you went. I set down the clipboard. Jennifer, how much did that car cost? She blinked. What? The Tesla. For Catherine. How much? I don't see how that's. $85,000. I looked it up. $85,000. My voice was steady, but my hands weren't. Do you know how much you've borrowed from me in the last 4 years? Her face went pale. Dad, $92,437. I have the records. Every transfer, every check, every credit card payment. $92,000 you promised to pay back when you could afford it. I paused. Apparently, you can afford an $85,000 car for Catherine, but not a single payment to your own father. That's not fair. Marcus and I bought that together. We've been planning it for months. Catherine has done so much for us. What has she done for you, Jennifer? Specifically, she's welcomed me into her family. She's introduced me to important people. She's taught me about social etiquette, about how to present myself professionally. I sold my boat to pay for your wedding. I refinanced my house twice to help you through college and get you started. I co-signed a mortgage I could never afford if you defaulted. I've given you every spare dollar I've had for 30 years. Tears were streaming down her face now. I know, Dad. I'm grateful. I'll pay you back. I promise. When? The word came out harder than I intended. When will you pay me back? After the next investment opportunity? After the next car? After the next time Catherine needs something? That's not fair. You're making me choose between you and my family. I'm your family, Jennifer. I'm your father. I raised you. I sacrificed everything for you. And Catherine is just... What? Someone who throws nice parties and knows which fork to use? She wiped her eyes, and when she looked at me, I saw something I'd never seen before. Resentment. You don't understand. You've never understood. Marcus's family has connections, opportunities. Catherine can open doors for my career that a hardware store owner can't. There it was, the truth I'd been avoiding. I wasn't good enough. My sacrifice wasn't valuable enough. I was just the guy from the small town with dirt under his fingernails and a truck that needed duct tape. Get out, I said quietly. Dad, get out of my store. She left. I watched her drive away in her expensive car, and then I locked the door, flipped the sign to closed, and sat in the back office, surrounded by 40 years of receipts and memories. I didn't open the store the next day, or the day after. I spent those 2 days going through every document, every record. The business checking account showed regular transfers to Jennifer over the past 4 years. Money I'd categorized as personal withdrawal to avoid questions from my accountant. But looking at the patterns, the amounts, the timing, something felt wrong. I called my accountant, Ted Morrison. No relation to the Dallas Morrisons, thank God. Ted had been doing my books for 20 years. Ted, I need you to look at something. Can you pull up my business account records from the last 4 years? It took him 2 hours. When he called back, his voice was tight. William, we need to talk. Can you come to my office? The news was worse than I'd imagined. Over the past 18 months, there had been regular transfers from my business account that I hadn't authorized. Small amounts at first, 500 here, 1,000 there, then larger, 2,000, 5,000. In the last 6 months, $23,000 had been transferred to an account I didn't recognize. Do you have a business partner? Ted asked. Someone with access to the account? I felt sick. Jennifer. I added her last year. She said it would be easier for tax purposes, since I'd been giving her so much money anyway. She said her financial advisor suggested it. Marcus. Marcus was her financial advisor. Ted pulled up the account records. The money had been transferred to an investment account under Morrison Financial Consulting, Marcus's company. The company Jennifer had invested my $20,000 into, the one that was doing so well. They'd been using my business account as their personal fund, without asking, without telling me. William, this is embezzlement, Ted said carefully. If you want to press charges, She's my daughter. I understand, but give me a copy of everything. I need to think. I drove home with a folder full of evidence that my daughter was a thief, not just borrowing money she couldn't pay back, not just prioritizing her new family over her real family, actually stealing from me. I sat at my kitchen table and called my lawyer, Jim Bradford. Jim had handled Rebecca's estate, my refinancing, the business incorporation. He knew everything about my life. Jim, I need to remove someone from my business account, and I need to know my options for getting money back. 2 hours later, I had a plan. It wasn't pleasant. It wasn't what a father should have to do, but I wasn't going to be anyone's ATM anymore, least of all someone who'd stolen from me. First, I removed Jennifer from all business accounts, changed all passwords, all access codes. I set up a meeting with the bank to ensure she couldn't contest it. Second, I contacted a litigation attorney Jim recommended, filed a formal demand for repayment of all loans, with interest, included documentation of the unauthorized transfers, gave her 30 days to respond. Third, I changed my will. Everything had been set to go to Jennifer. The house, the store, my life insurance, my retirement account. I redrafted it all. The store would be sold upon my death, with proceeds going to a scholarship fund for children of single parents in Fredericksburg. The house would go to my cousin's daughter, who'd stayed in touch, who called me Uncle William and meant it. Jennifer would get nothing. Last, I wrote her a letter. Not the angry screed I wanted to write. Something calmer, more final. Jennifer, I've discovered the unauthorized transfers from my business account to Marcus's company. I've consulted with attorneys and been advised that this constitutes embezzlement. I've decided not to pursue criminal charges, but I am pursuing civil recovery of all funds owed. You have 30 days to respond to the demand letter my attorney is sending. After that, we proceed to court. Additionally, I've removed you from my will and all business accounts. I've realized that my attempts to help you have instead enabled you to become someone who values money over relationships, status over integrity. That's my failure as a father, and I'm correcting it now. The Home Depot gift card was meant to remind you of when you were 7 years old, standing at the register in my store, telling everyone you were my assistant manager. You were so proud. You told me you'd run the store with me someday, that we'd be partners. I don't know when I lost that little girl, but I know I can't keep funding the person she became. I love you. I will always love you, but I can't help you anymore. Dad, I mailed it on New Year's Eve. Seemed fitting. New year. New boundaries. Jennifer called 47 times that day. 47. I know because my phone kept track. I didn't answer. She showed up at the store on January 2nd. I'd hired a new assistant manager, a kid named Tommy who'd been working part-time since high school. I told him not to let her in back. She stood at the counter, crying, begging to talk to me. Customers were staring. Finally, I came out. Dad, please, we can fix this. It was a mistake. Marcus said it was legal, that we were all family, so it didn't matter. Marcus doesn't get to decide what's legal with my money. Neither do you. I'll pay it all back. Every penny. Just please don't sue me. Please. You had 4 years to pay me back. You chose to buy your mother-in-law a Tesla instead. That was Marcus's money. Was it? Or was it money you pulled from my account? How much of Marcus's successful company is actually built on stolen funds from a hardware store in Fredericksburg? She had no answer. She left. The lawsuit took 6 months. Jennifer's attorney tried to argue that the transfers were gifts, that I'd given her access to the account willingly. My attorney countered with the documentation of unauthorized transfers, the clear pattern of theft, the amounts that far exceeded any reasonable family help. We settled out of court. Jennifer and Marcus agreed to pay back $60,000 over 5 years. It was less than she owed, but it was something. More importantly, it was official, legal, in writing. She wasn't my daughter borrowing money anymore. She was a debtor with a payment plan. Catherine called me once during all this. Her voice was ice. You're destroying your relationship with your daughter over money. Do you know how petty that makes you look? Catherine, your daughter-in-law stole from me. If she'd stolen from you, what would you do? Silence. Then, we would have handled it privately, with dignity. I am handling it privately. It could have been criminal court. I'm being generous." She hung up. I haven't spoken to Jennifer since the settlement was signed. She sends the payments electronically every month, exactly on time. No notes, no calls, no attempts at reconciliation. Just money, transferred into my account like paying a utility bill. Part of me hoped she'd try harder. Show up, apologize, acknowledge what she'd done. The larger part of me knew that wasn't going to happen. Because apologizing would mean admitting she'd been wrong. And in her new world, people like me were always wrong. We were small town, small-minded, small in every way that mattered to people like the Morrisons. It's been 8 months now. The store's doing fine. Tommy's good with customers, learning fast. I've started working 4 days a week instead of 7. Started going fishing again on Sundays. Bought a little John boat. Nothing fancy. I sleep better than I have in years. No more stress about the next favor, the next loan, the next crisis that only my wallet could solve. No more pretending that my daughter's success was my success when clearly I was just a stepping stone she'd used and discarded. I won't lie and say it doesn't hurt. Every Sunday morning, I still expect her call. Every holiday, I set an extra plate out of habit, then put it away. I dream about Rebecca sometimes, and she asks about Jennifer, and I don't know what to say. But here's what I've learned, the hard way, at 64 years old. Love isn't measured in dollars. Sacrifice isn't the same as self-destruction. And enabling someone isn't helping them. It's just teaching them that they can take whatever they want without consequences. Jennifer is 30 years old. She has a good job, a husband, a life full of opportunities I never had. She doesn't need me anymore. Maybe she never really did. Maybe I was just useful until she found people who were more useful, more connected, more valuable to the life she wanted. And that's okay. It has to be okay. Because the alternative is spending the rest of my life bitter and broken, waiting for an apology that will never come, hoping for a relationship that died somewhere between a wedding at a country club and a Tesla in a driveway. Last week, I got a letter from the scholarship fund I'd set up in my will. They wanted to thank me in advance for the planned donation, asked if I'd consider serving on their selection committee. I said yes. Yesterday, a young woman came into the store with her father. She couldn't have been more than 8, wearing overalls and carrying a toy toolbox. She helped him pick out hinges for a birdhouse they were building together. I watched them at the register, her carefully counting out his change, him praising her math skills. "You're a good helper," I told her. She beamed. "I'm going to work here someday, just like my daddy works at the fire station. We're a team." Her father caught my eye, smiled. In that smile, I saw myself 30 years ago, saw hope and love and plans for a future where a little girl stays a little girl just a bit longer, where her admiration lasts forever. I wanted to warn him. Tell him that little girls grow up, that people change, that the ones you sacrifice everything for are sometimes the ones who hurt you the worst. But I didn't. I just smiled back and gave the girl a sucker from the jar by the register. "You take care of your dad," I told her. "He's lucky to have you." She nodded seriously, solemn promise in a child's eyes. Her father bought the hinges, and they left, hand in hand. I watched them go and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not quite peace, not quite forgiveness, but maybe acceptance. The understanding that I did everything I could with the knowledge I had. That love is complicated and family is messy, and sometimes the people you raise become strangers wearing familiar faces. My phone sits on the counter, silent. Jennifer's monthly payment will arrive tomorrow, like clockwork. Cold, transactional, the only relationship we have left. But I have my store, I have my town, I have Sunday mornings on the lake and Friday nights at the Veterans Hall, and the satisfaction of knowing that when I die, my money will help kids who need it, not fund someone's luxury lifestyle. That Home Depot gift card Jennifer dismissed is still in my desk drawer. Sometimes I take it out and look at it, remember the joke I'd intended, the memory I'd hoped to share. $25 that meant nothing to her and everything to me. I thought about throwing it away 100 times, but I keep it. A reminder that you can't buy respect, you can't purchase gratitude, And you absolutely cannot force someone to value what you've given them. All you can do is stop giving. Set boundaries. Protect what's left of yourself. And maybe, if you're lucky, find some dignity in the ruins of what you thought family meant. That's where I am now. 64 years old, running a hardware store in a small Texas town, watching fathers and daughters who still believe in each other, and trying not to grieve too loudly for the relationship I thought I'd have forever. The store opens at 6 tomorrow. I'll make the coffee, check the inventory, help customers find what they need. Tommy will arrive at 8, full of questions and energy. We'll work until 5, lock up, and I'll drive home to my paid-off house and my quiet evenings. It's not the life I planned, but it's honest. It's mine, and nobody can take it from me ever again. That's worth something. Maybe not $85,000, but something.